Well, good morning. This is Ginger with Ginger Snap Thrifting, and I am out here on the back side of the old blue house where it stays shady most of the day, y'all, which is a blessing in this heat. I'm out here with this old set of locker room lockers, athletic lockers, and I'm gonna start sanding them down, and I told y'all I'd take you along on this project, so here we go. And can I just say, I am so excited to see how these turn out. So I've got a little sander here. I'm gonna try the sander and see if that works. Well, that looks like that's gonna work great, but I need some eye protection. So I'll be right back with some eyewear. I'm back and we are gonna get started now, y'all. I'm using 80 grit sandpaper on this little palm sander. It's not a real powerful little sander, but it's going to do everything I need it to do on this project. There weren't too many dents in this locker, so the sander could just run flush across the metal, but I did have to turn the sander up on edge to get in all the little grooves, and that ate up a lot of sheets of sandpaper. Another area that was really difficult to sand were the fins that make vents in the locker. There were 4 total vents, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. Once I had the front doors sanded, I opened the doors up and did the best I could with the interior of the locker and the shelves. So I've gone just about as far as I can do with that little hand sander. Sometimes the best tool is old-fashioned elbow grease like this wire brush. And I'm going to use it again to these tight places like, let's see if y'all can see that. Can y'all see that rust down in here? I can't reach it with a drill or with a sander, and also in these little fins on both the inside and the outside. I'm going to be wire brushing that. The wire brush worked really well, and I was able to get most of the rust and chippy paint out of all the nooks and crevices. And then when I was finished with the outside and around the doors, I opened the doors up and got the areas I couldn't reach with the sander on the inside. Well, I've taped off everything that I'm getting ready to paint the inside, and I've taped off everything around the edges that I don't want the tape to overspray on, including over these little vents because I'm afraid the paint will blow in. And I think I'm just going to clear coat the outside and keep that rusty patina going. In the name of being thrifty and frugal, I've decided to just use up all the assorted cans of spray paints I've got floating around. So I've got some kind of teal green, I've got some oranges, I've got a lot of white, and because this is just for me, and I really just want kind of a clean look when I look in here, I think that'll just be fine. It'll just be an explosion of color when I open up the door. It was rather difficult to get the spray can in around all the shelves on the inside. Thankfully, spray cans now can be turned upside down and sideways and so forth, and I was able to get pretty good coverage all the way down. I did orange paint on this side, and the other side had a combination of teal and white paint. Once the sanding on the doors and the insides were done, the rest of the project went really quickly. It wasn't hard at all to sand the top and the sides. The top looked like it was rusted, but it was not. It was pitted, however, maybe with some kind of acid over the years. I applied Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer to the top where it was pitted, and also to any severely rusted areas, which really were very few, including a little strip down the back side and the front legs. You can see here I've applied the rust reformer to the top, and I'm taping off a little strip across that back corner that's got some rust on it, so I can apply that rust reformer to that as well. Well, all right, y'all, I've got it sanded down. Not as smooth as baby's bottom, but not like 80 grit sandpaper either. Pretty smooth. Smooth enough to go on my porch. Smooth enough it ought to hold paint. The areas that were super rusty, I taped off, and I used Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer on that. That's a product that's supposed to bond to any rust and keep any more rust from forming and make it real paintable. And so I finished painting the inside, and now I've decided that what I'm going to do is just clear coat this. I'm going to clear coat it with some satin clear enamel, so that I'm going to celebrate the patina of the rust, y'all. It's part of the story of this old piece. All these old pieces have stories, and I just like that. I like to look at it. I like to think about it. And you know, one day I may decide I want to cover it up with a different color paint. But for now, this is what we're going to do. I put 3 coats of the clear coat across the outside, and I went back and forth, long ways and short ways, to try and get good coverage. So this locker did not have a back leg. It just had this metal part here, because I guess they just bolted to the wall. So my husband built me some over the top legs to go under it. And we have to make the front leg longer than the back leg, because on the porch of this 100-plus-year-old house, it slopes forward. And so we have to make the front a little higher so it'll sit back and not try to tip over forward. So we are ready to put this thing in now. And after several days of work, we finally have it here on the porch. Here it is, all painted. See, I've got the teal and white in this side, and this side's all orange. And no, it's not a perfect paint job, but it looks not rusty, not crusty, and it'll work for me. Well, all right, y'all, I've got the locker set finished. I've got it installed on my porch. I've got it loaded up. Here it is. What do y'all think? Now, I want you to know, this orange is not rust. This is overspray from the orange on the inside. And then here's some really white overspray. And that's okay with me, because that's part of the story. That's the story of me being frugal and thrifty and using what I had on hand to finish this. So let me show you the inside. So I've got my hand tools. This has got clips, more clips. I've got some ties that I tie my plants with. Here's my chemicals, my insecticides, a little fertilizer down there, and a sprayer. See, I put some hooks here to hang things up. Over on this side, I've got my little seed starting stuff up here. I kept buying things because I couldn't find what I had. And then down here, I've got my fertilizers, my feeders for my plants. And then on top, I've got my trays. I need to find another way to store these. And I found 2 of these. Obviously, I couldn't find my bulbs planter, and I bought another one, so I'll have to find a home for that. I'm sure I know somebody that can use that. But anyway, y'all, it has been a lot of fun fixing this. I've so enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed watching me. And so that's it for my upcycle video for my garden supplies. Y'all bloom where you're planted. This is Ginger with Ginger Snap Thrifting.